So it's my pleasure this morning to welcome our keynote speaker for today, Eric Papp. Eric will also be doing a breakout session, or 2 breakout sessions after this session. Pretty much the same format that we followed yesterday. So as I was interviewing keynote speakers or potential candidates for keynotes, this process started way back in March, April, really. Had the opportunity to really look at a lot of speakers on a variety of topics. And one of the things that really kept going through my mind as I talked to them is, do they get it? And franchising is a unique animal, and our business model is, even within the franchising space, a very unique animal. And you almost right away got the sense of whether or not somebody got it or not. And certainly, I think we would all agree that Steve Lefevre from yesterday gets it. And so I was looking for that same quality. Not necessarily experience in the security industry or familiarity with our business model, but just somebody who quickly just gets it. And one of the things about Eric in the last couple of days, and I think a lot of you can attest, is his willingness to come on the day that he wasn't speaking so that he could meet with a lot of you and ask you questions and hear stories so that he can be flexible enough to change and add those stories and those experiences to his presentation this morning, so that was relevant to you. And I know that he spent some time with Mike Daly this week as well, so reaching out and trying to understand his audience better. So we appreciate that quality about Eric. And I'm proud that he's here today. So Eric is the author of a book called Leadership by Choice. And he has a book that will be released hopefully in the next couple of weeks called Being 3 Values of Being an Effective Person. He has traveled extensively as a leadership consultant and keynote speaker. And it's a pleasure today to welcome Eric's parents, because Eric lives in the Tampa area, but he rarely gets to speak in the Tampa area. So his parents are here and actually have an opportunity to see Eric in his hometown this morning. So it just was a little bit by serendipity that we were coming here and Eric lived here. So I would like to present this morning Eric Papp. Because sometimes we often might think we have to sacrifice something. You know, if I'm an honest person, I can only make so much. If I'm responsible and I pay my taxes and I do good, I can only make so much. Right? The two go hand in hand. So that's what I want you to just think, what are your initial thoughts leading from profitability? Turn to your table mate next to you
and share with them what's on your mind. All right, welcome back. If you hear my voice, clap once. If you hear my voice, clap twice. If you hear my voice, clap once. That's better. Solid. Just a little bit, Tony gave you a little bit of my background. My name is Eric Papp. I live in the Tampa Bay area, just 17 minutes away right here, Bayshore Boulevard, South Howard. I get married in 80 days. That's April 10th, yes, the sacrament of marriage. And it's an honor to be here with you as well. You're going to learn more about me as the day goes on. I also have a cat that I've had since I was 12 years old. So you can figure that out. All right, but let's go back to the question I originally asked you. And that was leading for profitability, so what? So I want to just, and by the way, you can just kind of, you can raise a hand or you can shout it out, however the Spirit moves you. What does that mean to you when you hear those words? What did you tell your team to mean? What did he call on you?
Setting the example and being efficient.
Setting the example and being efficient. Okay, beautiful. I like that. Oh, looks like somebody again. What? Setting the example, being efficient. What else?
Affecting the quality of life for the people around you.
Wow. Okay, so quality of life. So the impact that you have. Ah, interesting. Because you never see a bank deposit truck behind a hearse, do you? No, it's all about what your contribution. Isn't that interesting? You know, we can't take anything, but it's what we contribute. Okay, very good, very cool. What else? What else do you think about when you hear that term, leading for profitability? Let's do one more. Yes, a brave soul in the back spoke up and said, in your non-library voice. Being a role model, okay. I say non-library because we're not in a library. You can cut loose a little bit here. Right? Can you guys cut loose? Woo! Oh, there. A little Ric Flair. All right, yeah. So being a role model. Being a role model. I might make some references, by the way, and if you don't get them, that's okay. Just come and ask me afterwards. All right, so let's go ahead. Here's what I think in terms of what it means. This is where we're going to be drilling down today. Leading with honesty, responsibility, and generosity to obtain the highest level of profit possible. If that sounds good, you just go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, Pete, I gotta tell you, this by the National Hand Raising Association doesn't constitute your hand fully raised, so it's like this. There is no National Hand Raising Association. I need that out. All right, yes. So, leading with honesty, responsibility, and generosity to obtain the highest level of profit possible. And they both go hand in hand. Okay? So as an idea, as an overview of what we're going to be doing today, first we're going to be talking about questions. As Tony mentioned, I sat in your session yesterday with Lefevre, and I got to meet some people, meet some franchise owners, and I put myself in your shoes. Not directly in your shoes, because your shoes, Pete, might be bigger than mine, but I thought, if I was a franchise owner, what are the questions that I have on my mind? And I think some of the ones that I put up here, I think they might be a little bit in your world. Okay, so we're going to go through those. Then we're going to take a look at and see what is the model for being effective. And that's the latest research on my new book, The 3 Values of Being Effective. To me, it's very simple. I've studied, I've researched, observed leadership, professionally done it for about 7 years now. And to me, there's values, there's habits, and then there's skills. There's values, habits, and skills. And a lot of times in organizations, if you don't have your values right, you have a weak foundation. And that's what's going on in a lot of organizations, is they're trying to remodel the kitchen, but yet the foundation is weak. And so I want to make sure today in your business that your foundation is strong. I get the sense that it's already strong, but we're going to just look to see how we could possibly reinforce it. Okay? So we're going to go through the model there. Then I'm going to give you some examples. You'll hear people saying, managing people. You heard that term before? By show of hands, yeah, you manage people. My belief is this, and you can write this down. By the way, as we get going, I'm going to say a lot of things, and you can write this down, you should write this down. You've got a pad and paper there. The best memory, as Benjamin Franklin said, is the one in ink. Yes. So feel free to write stuff down. As we go through this, my belief is this, especially in your franchise, because you can't see the people. You don't need to manage people. You just need to manage their promise. So stop managing people and start managing their what? Their promise. Because that's all you have. That's all, because you can't see them. Especially in your business. It's not like when I was talking to my friend Mike and his friend who's a business owner at Chick-fil-A, and he owns a franchise. He shows up to work, he can see everybody. Who's in their uniform, who's not. That's not the case for you, correct? This is your part, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we'll look at that. Then we'll do a model for selling very briefly. And then the last part here came about just from my conversations yesterday in terms of double or triple your close rate for proposals. Does that sound like a good idea to talk about?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Now we got it. And that might spill out in the afternoon session today if we don't go into that. So I mean, we're going to get to that. But I mean, if you want to go deeper, the afternoon session today kind of be like a fireside chat, more of an intimate conversation. And I'll have a lot of material there, so that might be something as well that we go into. But that's just wanted to give you the overview of what we're going to be covering here today. So let's start off first with the questions. Questions that a franchise owner, if I was a franchise owner, these are some questions that I had. How do I manage someone I can't see? How do I find and retain good talent? How do I not compete on price and be viewed as a commodity? How do I deal with low profit margins? Will corporate notice if I take money directly? Why am I paying a 2% admin royalty fee when there are consistent errors with invoicing? See, I'm an equal opportunity offender here. Okay. How do I deal with last minute shift changes? How do I deal with my spouse reminding me about money? Am I on track with these questions? Just show me some feedback, or just a hand or something, so I know that I'm okay, because it went silent out there. Everyone's thinking. Okay, good. Okay, good. How can I sleep peacefully and not think about my business? Medication, that's what it's saying. How do I look as young as Reed but smell as good as Tony?
That's impossible.
Medication. All right. How do I have the profit mastery when the speaker spent the first 27 minutes on his biography? I liked the presentation I'm going to be referencing from, from Lefevre. But how do I get it all done? That's that. All right, so this is the model that we're going to be working from here today, the 3 values of being an effective person. You don't have to write this down because you will get this as a 4x6 handout at the end in a little postcard format. Fair enough? What we're going to do is we're going to go through the model, and then like I said earlier, we're going to talk about managing promises and not people, and then I really want to get into the sales aspect because I think that's where a lot of people were excited to see how this honesty parlays into success with proposals. Is that a yes or yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. So, the 3 values. Now, why the 3 values? Because like I said earlier, you have to build it on a solid what?
Foundation.
Foundation, right. Let me read you the first couple lines here. A wise man built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and buffeted the house, but it did not collapse. It had been set on a what? On a rock. That's the same thing as well when you have your business, when things happen. Lefevre talked about it yesterday, Q2, 2008. What happens? Recession hits, but when you build on a solid foundation, hey, it's okay. When something happens, one of your patrol folks, goes transfers. What happens? Leaves the job. Well, it's okay. You built it on a solid foundation. That's the key. All right, so let's look at the first thing. What is honesty? Honesty is a lot of things. Honesty, I don't want you to think it in terms of this. I don't want you to collapse it or confuse it with morality or value morality or judgment. Okay, I'm not here to judge in terms of that when we talk about honesty, these values. However, I do want you to start to look for areas and for ways that you might not be 100% responsible or 100% honest with our word or 100% honest with our opinions. I want you to look for areas of your life, because if you look for those areas, I guarantee you're going to see an improvement in performance and profit if you start to correct it. And I'll explain later. So the first one here is honesty. Honor your word and honest with your opinions. Okay, now what does this look like? Or excuse me, we'll go through it first. Responsibility means making it happen. In my first book, I wrote a chapter called The Abdication of Accountability. Because it was like a thing in our society. People were like, it's not my fault, it's the government's fault. It's not my fault, it's the home office's fault in Omaha. It's not my fault, it's my parents' fault. It's not my fault, it's my neighbor's fault. It's not my fault. You see where I'm going with this? And people are talking like victims. The only time that you choose to take responsibility for something is the only time that you can be powerful. If you look responsibility up in the dictionary, you'll see two groups of synonyms. You'll see influence, power, and change. Or you'll see guilt, liability, and blame. So it's looking in to see what are you that you want to take responsibility for. Okay? So making it happen. In organizations, and in particular, you're the franchise owner, you'll know this has happened in your organization when people instead, they'll say, it's not my responsibility, they'll just do it. They'll just make it happen. And that's the type of culture that you want to create. You don't have to ask somebody, they just get it done. They realize that responsibility is an empowering concept. You can write that down. Responsibility is an empowering, it gives people power concept. Generosity, giving without expectation, being a big person. You get home, let's say, you had a wonderful day, and you see your wife is there, and then you go up and maybe give her a back rub, maybe you pour a glass of wine, because you're feeling real what? You're feeling good. Translate that to something else. Maybe you didn't have really that good of a day. You get home and you don't do that. Well, you miss the opportunity to be a what? A giant of a person. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years of his life. I'm age 31, so that's hard to fathom. 27 years of his life in prison. He comes out and he forgives his captors. We've got people still holding on to stuff that happened to him yesterday or happened to him 10 years ago. Oh, I remember this person here at this meeting. Yeah, he said this. He said my franchise wasn't going to do this. And we're still holding on to it. Being small. Small people talk about small things, small events. Start to practice being a large person. Being what? Being generous. Okay? We're going to get into this. Hopefully a lot of you are thinking right now, because it's awful quiet up here. Alright, now this is how we're going to talk about honesty. So this slide right here is how sometimes we don't, we're not 100% honest with our word. How does it show up? Because I see a lot of people are thinking, hey, I'm military, I'm former law enforcement, I know about honoring my word. Well, let's look and see if there's some areas that we can improve upon, yes? Only when we can improve can we get better. Only when you improve can you get more what? Wealthier. Only when you improve can you then contribute more to other people. So looking at here, my top 2 priorities, when you hear this from people, my faith and family, the next, it shows the guy working real late, and then up here it says, I don't have time to go to Matt's game. I work for a living. Please stop reminding me about church. Another picture up here says, actions speak louder than words. And this is kind of what Lefevre talked about yesterday, about how his dad would come home and complain about the business, the paint business. Remember that? And then he probably was dumbfounded why his son didn't want to take the business. Yes? Same thing goes on in companies, corporations. And I'm not saying this happens in yours, I'm just giving you something to think about. We must strive to be men and women of integrity. And the next slide over, the next picture, you can see what it says. It says, Mr. Smith is here to see you. And what does the guy say? He says, tell him I'm not here. So the employees that are sitting there in the office, what are the thought bubble? What does it say? He just gave us permission to what? How true is this? Is this true? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Thank you for participating. Yes, we learn by what we see the behavior of other people. That's why values are the foundation. Values simply mean this. All right, I'm going to tell you this so you can write this down. Values are simply standards of behavior. That's it. They're simply standards of behavior, but yet we don't talk about them. I was a Boy Scout. I was an Eagle Scout. Anybody who's in the Boy Scouts or Eagle Scout here, by show of hands? A Scout is. Kyle, Scout is. Trustworthy. Yes! All right, thank you, Wilson. Is it Wilson? Okay, good. Wilson, you get the first one, just a little mini poster here. I'm probably driving camera people nuts today. All right, yes, very good. Now, why did I bring that up? Standards of behavior, because what? How'd you know that, Wilson? Because it was talked about at every meeting, right? It was talked about. That's the same thing here with our values. We have to talk about it. If we want to see them in a behavior standpoint, we have to talk about it. So that's why this is not like it's heavy material today. I don't want you to think, oh man, we just need to talk about it. It's a light, it's light. Okay? But just the same thing there. That's why you were able to recite it, because it was talked about every single meeting. That's why I hope these values you talk about it at every single meeting. Your kitchen table discussions, conversations with your kids, conversations with your employees, have them there. Okay? Now, why are we not honest with our opinions? Here's a great example. How many of you went out to eat last night? Just by show of hands. You went somewhere other than, we had dinner here, right? Okay. That example. Okay. Did somebody go out to eat? What about the guys in the limo? That won the limo. Did you guys? Who are the guys in the limo? Somebody won a limo? Oh, they're very sheepishly raising their hand. Oh, you guys went to Del Maywood with the gentleman? No, I'm just kidding. Did he see this? Did you tell him? Oh, Mons Venus is a steakhouse, not a... All right. How many people? So you've been out to... When's the last time you were out to dinner? Somebody? Saturday, thank you. Your name again?
Brandon.
Brandon, where did you go?
Fleming's here in Tampa.
Oh, great place. Okay, so you went to Fleming's. Now, let's say he's having a great meal there. The great ambiance. He gets his steak. Fleming's is a steakhouse. And it's not quite. He made me references. He says, you know what? I was in Nebraska before, and this is just not up there. It's just not up there. Now, the maitre d' or the waiter comes by his table and says, how was everything? Do you think that he says, you know what, this is really not up there? Or do you think he says, oh, everything was great? And this is not just towards him, I'm speaking to what?
In general.
Everybody. How many times do we just say what? Oh, it was fantastic, when really inside it was just maybe terrible? And for the record, I'm not saying Fleming's is terrible, I'm just using it as an example. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Raise a hand, yes? Feedback? So we're not honest with our opinions. And when we're not honest with our opinions, it's a constant source of our frustration. Make sense? Because we're not honest with people, so it's a constant source of frustration. Why aren't we honest with our opinions? Probably one of two reasons I've discovered. One is we don't like conflict. Oh, I don't want this person to get upset. I don't want them to stop liking me. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Or we'll do something like a cost-benefit analysis. You know, I'm not going to talk to this officer about being late because, you know, the last 3 times that he came to work, he did this with me. Cost-benefit. Yes or yes? Okay. Or just one example I hear, I won't say anything about his drinking because he's such a good father. So it's having conversations. Now, having conversations, just a little side note here, you don't have to, people that say, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. You ever heard that? Usually I stop people right there and I say, you know what, when people tend to say that to me, they tend to be more brutal than they do honest. So which one is it so I can prepare myself? So you don't need to be brutally honest. I tell people we need to be what? Gently honest. So if you're at the steakhouse, we're hey, can I be gently honest with you? Sure, what is it? Well, you asked me how it was, and I thought it was fair. I don't think it was like the best steak I had, but I thought it was fair. Oh, okay, well, thank you. Yes or yes? When you start to practice this type of behavior, it's amazing the feedback you'll get from customers and clients. A lot of times we might think that we're doing such a great job, but when we're honest with them, we can ask for that feedback. You can have that relationship with them. And that's very important in your business. Talking to Pete yesterday, Pete, what's your number one priority? Keeping people happy. Whether it's with his clients or whether it's with his group of employees. All right, now let's get to this slide. Do you like this slide? By the way, these are pictures that are all going in my new book. It's called The 3 Values of Being an Effective Person. It's not in print yet, but if you want a copy of it, I don't have any here, give me your business card at the end and write a book on it. And when it comes out, then I'll make sure you get a copy. Signed copy. Now this picture, I've created all these images, by the way. I created them upstairs in my head, and then I get a graphics person to do them. And that's where they come from. This one right here is what level of most of your conversation. Fertilizer conversations, weather, sports, and news. Is it important to have fertilizer conversations? Yeah, it's fertilizer. It looks good, right? I mean, hey, it's nice. It's nice to talk about it. Next group, soil conversations. Now, maybe we talk about other people. Oh man, did you see what that person did? Did you see what this person did? Oh man, yeah, I got to talk to so-and-so. Oh, this person's truck's a mess. They lost another key. You hear that he didn't even lock up the pool deck. Oh, okay, well so maybe some soil conversations. You're going a little bit deeper perhaps, but then the core conversations, you really talk about what? What matters? Talking about what matters. Okay, so not being honest, I was saying that before, is a constant source of your frustration. You can write down that formula if you'd like. Do I really only have 18 minutes left? No? Okay. Thank you, Tony, for your generosity. That's honest, yes, exactly. You get it there. No, but now be honest, constant source of frustration. Okay. Let me go on here to responsibility. Responsibility is making it happen. Very simply, making it happen. One of the people I admire, Americans in this country, is a man by the name of Frederick Douglass. You might have heard of him. He was born in poverty, became a slave, later went on to write books, advised 5 presidents, and when he died, he had an equivalent today of over $500 million in his bank account. Pretty influential person. People might not get all they work for in this world, but they must certainly work for all they get. Okay. How we create victims, you can just quickly glance to the side. It's not your fault. We kind of talked about that. But taking responsibility, taking that power and that responsibility, so responsibility in growing your practice, responsibility in obtaining more business. It's important. How responsible are you for everything that happens? A lot of us, we quickly say, oh, I'm 75%, or oh, I'm 100. Really? How do I know most people are 50% responsible? How do I know this? Because they'll spend 50% of the day talking about who is responsible. Is that true? Yes or yes? Okay. All right. Very good. Now, here, how do you shift from being a victim to being a victor? Well, the very slightly shift happens just even when you're driving your car. Some people, when they get in their car, they curse the traffic. Can't believe this traffic. This traffic is going to make me late. I can't believe this traffic. It's the state. If they would have built the roads right, it's the government. If they would have had the roads done, oh man, who's in office right now? Oh, it's Buckhorn here in Tampa. Oh man. Do you see how we do that? Or just quickly make the shift. The victim talks like that, and the victor says, you know what, I just need to leave early next time. Because I can have influence when I get there. I can change that. Very simple. All right. Everybody get that? Okay. So responsibility is making it happen. Very simple. Now, what is generosity? Generosity is very simply giving without expectation. Practicing being a large person. When someone gives something to you and you give them back to them, what do you call that? Do you call that generous, or do you call that being a human being? Call it being a human being because they did for you. It's like quid pro quo. Make sense? But if somebody doesn't do for you and you do for them, what do you call that? Generosity. Generosity. It's called, what would Jesus do? It's called being like Jesus. Oh my gosh, you just mentioned Jesus. And I haven't heard his name in a long time. Actually, I did hear his name, but somebody just used it in vain one time. But other than that, I haven't heard his name. Yeah, maybe that's good. Maybe you should talk about that, man. Maybe that's what's missing today. I don't know. Generosity, though. Being a big person. Being a big person, regardless of what we get. You know who's a big person? Is Pete Mango. Pete Mango, when he goes inside an organization for a sales call, and he finds out that it's not his fit or he can't help them, he actually calls up the other person, or he refers them to one of the quote-unquote competitors. That's being generous. He knows he's not going to get the business, but he's practicing being a big person. And it doesn't surprise me that he probably has one of the largest practices here, 150 people. Look at the behaviors. It's all in our behaviors. Okay, oh, this is a funny picture. So let me preface this. How do you treat your employees? Well, employees looking at it, if you look at it the same way as you're looking at family members. If you're a parent, a lot of you in here are parents. I told you I get married 80 days. And I look forward to being a parent one day. How many kids that don't know that? Okay. Alright? So here is self-sacrificing versus sacrificing others. Two parents are talking. They're costing us too much money. I'd like to keep my Lexus. The other parent says, which one are we going to get rid of? A little humor there, guys. All right. Now, some people are confused. They say, Eric, you know what? I give my money, though. I give money. You know, I give money, so I don't need to give time. I don't need to give really time for my family. I don't need to give time for other people. I just, I work. Well, does money replace time? Do we believe that? I don't know. I'm just bringing up questions for you to ponder and think over. Marinate. Up here we see, husband says, I don't understand. I provide for our family. Big house, luxury cars, country club memberships. What else do you want? What does she say?
Your time.
Family wants your time. I want you. So, giving without expectation, being a big person. Alright, so how do you manage promises and not people? Kyle, Mike, is John? John? Beautiful. John and I were talking. I went up to Mike's office and I was talking to John about this example. Do you have it where your employees sometimes might lose keys? Just raise a hand if that ever happens, if that's an issue perhaps. Okay. Thank you for playing along. Okay. This is something, so how do you manage someone's promise? Well, it goes back to what I was saying, what I was building on. Very simply, John and I are John, can you come on up here? Just, you won't have to do it, you just have to stand. Give John a round of applause. Yeah, good job. Now, so I work for John, let's say. I lost my keys. And I literally don't have my car keys. They're in that bag, so don't take that back. But I lost my keys, let's say, the patrol vehicle. Does that sound familiar, perhaps? Okay? Now, he's my boss. Okay? Oftentimes, I might call him. He might come running out there. Here it is. Typically, he would say something like, hey, don't worry about it. Or just don't do it what? Again. And I say, yeah, okay, sure, John, thanks. Bless you. And then what happens? It happens again, right? So, here's how the conversation goes differently. Now, let's say I'm John. So, you're John. You can say here, so you're going to be me. So now I'm John. Hi, John. I'm John. And John is me. The conversation goes something like this. John, I understand you lost your key. You know how that happened? I might say, I just nice. Okay, it wasn't the truck. Okay, got it. Would you like to know what I was doing before I came out here? You might want to write that one down. Would you like to know what I was doing before I came out here, before you called me out here? I was with my family, and we were enjoying a nice meal together. So, okay. Now, we got the key there. John, how can we prevent this moving forward? John tells me. Okay, great. So, John, what's your new promise to me? I promise to do X, Y, Z. Hey, fantastic, man. I appreciate that. And I just have to manage your promise, and I don't even have to manage you. Is that correct? Thanks. Now, we can dissect this during the breakout. I see maybe some people thinking about this, but it's just that simple. Yes, now, is it going to happen again? It could happen again. But do you think he's going to be more diligent of where he places his keys? Absolutely. Because he knows what I went through to get out here. And also, too, he made what? A promise to me. Now, do we fulfill all of our promises? Absolutely not. We are human beings. That just happens. There's a distinction, I'm not going to talk about it now, but between honoring your word versus what? Keeping your word. You can't always keep your word. You cannot. But versus honoring it. Okay? And it's simply the conversation. That's how the conversation goes. Okay? Like I said, in the breakout, we can talk more about that. But give John a round of applause for coming up. All right, managing promises, not people. The same thing for a pull lockup. I had a conversation with my friend Tony. And I said, Tony, people don't need to manage people anymore. He said, what? So, yeah, they just need to manage their promises. You have somebody that works for you. Apartment complex. And they said, you know what, I locked up the pool. Oh, you know what, I think I locked up the pool. Okay. You discovered they didn't lock up the pool. Have the same conversation. As opposed to getting all huffed and puffed and whatever, I can't believe this person, they lied to me or they did this. Not a big deal. You just need to have a conversation with them. A lot of things that we think are so heavy, just a conversation. World peace is just a conversation. Talking with certain leaders in the world is just a conversation. It's not something, that's all it is. Okay? So we have a conversation, something like this. Hey, let's say, we'll use John's name. You show up that they didn't lock up the pool or whatever. Hey, John, it appears the pool's not locked up. I went by there and I saw it. What do you make of it? I'm extracting out what? Information. I'm asking what? Questions. Oftentimes, if you have a very authoritative background, which many of you do, whether it's military or law enforcement, Sometimes you might come in there and just more so talk at them. That's not how you reach them. You reach them through your what? Questions. By the way, when you're having a conversation, this will come up when we talk about proposals later on. It's all about questions. You're in charge of the conversation when you ask for what? Questions. You don't always have to be in charge of a conversation, but it's just to give you an idea of that. You know, hey, what happened? Oh, you know what, I thought I did and I didn't. Okay. Well, how can we prevent this moving forward? Okay. What's the new promise you now make to me? Okay, got it. I'm just gonna take you at your word. And you let them know, I'm just gonna manage your word, not you. Is that fair? Yeah, sure, that's fair. Okay, great. Is it gonna take them several times before they probably get this principle? Absolutely. But be patient with them. You'll sleep 100 times better at night. The relationships with customers, clients will go through the roof. Also, honesty parlays into profitability, being honest in our opinions in terms of proposals. Let's look at this. My selling model. So you got pain, money, decision-making, proposal. PMDP. Okay? What's happening is you're not being honest with somebody. Somebody calls you up. They said, hi, my name is Bob Jones. I'm the general manager of Camden Apartment Complex, Lee, and I need a proposal. Sure, I need to, and then you hang up the phone. And you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to send them? I don't even know. We didn't talk about the what? The pain. We didn't talk about what their money is. We didn't talk about if they're even the decision maker. They might be calling up and they have to take it to who?
The regional.
Their daddy. Who's their daddy?
The regional.
Who's your daddy? Right, so they might be taking it to that. Okay? They might think like they're the decision maker, but they're not. Who do you want to deal with?
The decision maker.
Decision maker. Remember, you can always go from top down, but you can't sometimes, I shouldn't say can't, but it's very tough to go from what? Bottom on up. Always start at the top. Always start the regional manager if possible. Always go there first. And then go down. All right. Now, here, let's talk about the proposals. The proposals, how to double, triple, and your proposal closing rate. A proposal should be what you agree upon in conversation. Meaning there should be no what? Right, meaning there should be no surprises. And you can tell a client, hey, just put a proposal together, Lee, and send it to me. Well, you know what, I've got something that from one patrol officer to something that can cover Fort Knox. And I would hate to waste your time sending you something and looking something over, and I'd hate to waste my time putting it together. So if we can just kind of talk this out and I get a sense of what you're looking for and what your budget is about, we can get the right fit. Making sense, yes or yes?
Yes.
Some people will just say this, Wilson, just send me a proposal. You know what, Wilson, when I hear that, sometimes that means just don't bother me anymore. Is that the case here? That's being honest. You see that? And the person can either backpedal, or they can say, yeah, it kind of is. Okay, great. Now I know that it won't get looked at, or it won't get read to, because now it saves me 3 weeks worth of following up and calling and sending emails. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, now this is your time. I want you to just talk to a partner here before we go through these next 5 points on proposal writing and what's showing up for you. What's the value? What are you getting out of value today that you're going to go back and implement as a result of spending time with us today? So partner up here, what's coming up for you? What are you going to now implement? What action are you going to take as a result of listening to me speak for the past 50 minutes? Go ahead and partner up. All right. Now let's go through these here. Don't send a proposal without talking about the pain on your decision making. Your proposal rate is probably not as good as it could be, just from talking from some of you yesterday. You can probably there's great rooms for improvement that I discovered. So when somebody says, yeah, just send me a proposal, don't do it. Don't waste your time, don't waste their time. If you don't know, if you don't talk about the pain, you don't talk about the money, they're probably not even a decision maker. They're probably just out there fishing. And if they're out there fishing, you're going to be viewed as a what? A commodity. Something Lefevre said yesterday, he made a great point. Let me reference him. I liked his energy, by the way. He said, yeah, if you follow the competition, it makes you a commodity. So when the person calls you up, send me a proposal, that's what they're probably doing with all your competitors. And you can even say that. You know, I typically, when I hear that, when somebody just says, hey, just send me a proposal, it just means that they're shopping around and they're competing on price. Is that the case here? I'm going to write this down. It's very important. You want to take this to your wall. You can either defend your price or you can explain your value. And I believe Signal 88, you want to explain your value. You want to show why that you're not just charging the lowest rate. You're explaining your value of what you can provide. Okay, but it starts with that honesty, being honest with them. Like I said here before, point number 2. Are you just asking for proposals so I'll stop calling you? Just mention that. But don't waste your time, because then how much time do you waste trying to track the person down? You call them up after a week to follow, you've been told to follow up, which is true. Stop doing it. Okay? Now, talk about money. How many of us, we were told when we were kids, never talk about money by show of hands? Okay, thank you for those who participated. Yes, never talk about money. No, talk about money. Absolutely talk about money. It's just what? Money. That's all it is. So for some of you, you need to overcome that fear. We charge 18 an hour. You need to get practicing, look in the mirror. No, our rates are starts off at $25 an hour. I'm just saying, I don't know I'm just putting that out there, that's all. Okay, so just don't be afraid to talk about money, because if you're afraid to talk about money, it shows. It's going to show in your business. So start to practice that fear. Start to overcome that fear. Don't practice that. All right. Set up a meeting with the decision makers. Have the meeting there with the decision makers. So if you're talking on the phone, hey Jerry, it's thank you for your call. It's been, we kind of talked. We see that. I think that there's a need. Jerry, who else besides yourself will be making this decision? What am I saying? Jerry, who's your dad? Jerry, who's your dad, Jerry? Right? Because don't the people you talk to, they probably report somebody, right? Hey, what do you think about this? Can we get this to sign off on this? Does that person that signs off on you, do they know you from Adam? No, they don't know you from Adam. So if your price comes in a little higher, is it going to be tough for them to explain the value? Probably so. Probably very so. So get them on the phone.
Nobody can tell your story better than you.
Absolutely. There you go. Nobody can tell your story better than you. So that's why, who do we need to talk to? Who else do we need to incorporate? Have that decision maker. Meet them there. Whether it's meet them or get on the phone. And you can even let them know. You can say, typically we find that if I don't talk to the decision maker, we're just spinning our wheels. And I don't want that to happen either for you or for me. And I'm just being honest with you. That's all it is. I want you guys to maximize your time, because I know one of the biggest things is, Eric, how do I get it all done? Okay? Then the last one here that I want to just mention is when you send out, you guys you send out your proposal, typically you probably either go there in person or you maybe email. Yes? If you email and you call the person on the phone, hey Tony, you in front of your computer? Yeah, Eric, I am. Great, let me send you the proposal. And it's already an outline of what we've talked about. Yes? Now, this doesn't always happen. Sometimes you make mistakes. I made a mistake. When I was interacting with Signal 88 on my selling process, I didn't involve Reed until the last step. I was just talking with Tony. So what? I'm still here speaking with you guys. Make sense? So you need to realize that. If you make a mistake, not a problem. Everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, what was that? What was that? Let's find the backstory. There's no backstory. All right. So that's it. Was this helpful, by the way?
Yes.
Yes? Give me a All right, so you got some ideas now, right? You you got some concrete ideas. This is only like an hour we spent together. Obviously, if you want to get trained in something that you're just making it a habit, you need to have something like on a weekly basis almost. This is to give you tools though how to actually go do it. But then for it to become a habit, it's almost like you have to be talking about it for about every week. You got to be hearing it. Okay. All right. So what can you say to people? We sell security. We give people peace of mind. How much is peace of mind worth? Well, how much is a Sleep Number mattress? It's a lot of money, right? What business are you in? I'm in the business of giving people peace of mind. Really? Tell me about that. What business are you in? I'm in security. Okay. Just some ideas. Okay? Now, explain your value or defend your price. You missed that, you have to ask your neighbor. Okay. Last one, test everything between what is good. And lastly, please, like I said, thank Tony and thank Reed for allowing me to be here together. One last little thing. Did you get your postcard? You see it? So you see the 3 values? Now you say, Eric, how is this sustainable? It's very simple. You got to ask yourself questions. By the way, why did I start off the presentation with asking questions? You want to write this one down. The quality of your franchise is determined by the questions you ask yourself. The success of my franchise is dependent upon the questions I ask myself. If you don't ask yourself any great questions, you'll probably say the same. So this one right here, this is to help you sustain, okay, the daily scorecard is for everybody in your organization that works for you. And you can just pick one question and focus on that a week. And then at the bottom here, the scorecard for managers/business owners. To be asking yourself, how are we doing in managing the promises of your people as opposed to managing them? What type of proactive behavior are you observing? How many honest conversations are you having? One last little thought, and that is this. I've had a lot of fun, by the way. It's been a real pleasure and a real joy, and I will be at the breakout, so you can come there and ask me any other questions. And also, too, if you want the new book that's coming out, give me your business card, and also or an email address, and we'll take care of you. Last thought. May the sun of optimism shine brightly upon you, and all your hopes, goals, and dreams and aspirations come true. And everyone that you encounter is a better person because they met somebody like you. I hope I was that person for you here today. My name is Eric Papp. Persistence always brings stuff. Thank you guys.